for just under 6 minutes until we hit waypoint 1. As we've mentioned before, this movement from waypoint 0 to waypoint 1 will swing Dragon up and out in front of the station. So if you've been watching that capsule, it has been moving slightly in that frame. So it'll move up and in front of the station, and it'll pause at a distance of approximately 220 meters. At that point in time, Dragon will be on what we call the docking axis, which basically means that it's directly in front of the docking port that it will be aiming for. That port is the forward port on node 2, which is the Harmony module, and that's where both of the international docking adapters, or IDAs, are located. Those were installed for new commercial spacecraft flights and any other future spacecraft that also use the international docking standard.
And you could really see in that graphic that was just on your screen how those different burns in this very phased approach really put Dragon into the place that it is now, exactly right in front of the docking adapter. You can really start to make out the International Space Station. You can see the solar arrays there, and even some of the vehicles that are currently docked to the space station. There's right now 4 vehicles docked to the International Space Station. That includes the SpaceX Freedom capsule, which Crew 4 arrived on and will return back home shortly, as well as the Russian Progress 80 and 81 and the Soyuz MS-22.
Once again, we are heading toward waypoint 1, about 3.5 minutes until that checkpoint is reached. After that, it will be on to waypoint 2, and that is once Dragon is only 20 meters away. At waypoint 2, the spacecraft will focus on aligning its docking system with the docking adapter. Dragon will fly in and make contact with the docking adapter, and that will give us what we call soft capture. That soft capture ring will then retract until sensors indicate that it's time for the hooks to drive in place, and then give us that hard capture, which firmly secures Dragon to station. And then after that hard capture is confirmed, we'll do leak checks for that hatch opening. And that is always a moment that's really fun to watch. Well, I guess I should say it takes time, right? Once the hatch is open, it's another several minutes before they can actually egress, but it's really nice to see the crews greet each other after Dragon's arrival.
It's worth the wait.
Absolutely.
And as Dragon continues to get closer to the space station ahead of docking, we are hearing that everything is proceeding as expected. Still looking towards an on-time docking at 1:57 Pacific this afternoon. And you are starting to see some blinking light.
Dragon in station, SpaceX on the big loop. Expect reconfiguration of the C2V2 link shortly.
Copy.
Copies.
And you did just hear that call about the C2V2 system being reconfigured. The C2V2 system is the common communications for visiting vehicles, and that really helps to set up the data stream from Dragon to the space station and provides another path for Dragon telemetry to reach Earth.
I think that should be renamed C squared, V squared. There we have live views from inside Dragon Endurance with the Crew 5 crew. All 4 astronauts are in their seats, buckled in, and as you can see, their suits are on, but the visors are up. So earlier, the crew donned or put on their suits, and we had 4 good leak suit checkouts kind of a mouthful to say there. And basically, in order to execute that, we have the crew put their suits on, put the visors down, lock it into place, and then they get in their seats, they hook up the umbilical, just like they did whenever they ingressed into the capsule prior to launch. And then we pressurize the suits at a certain determined pressure for a certain amount of time, and then we basically just check to make sure that those suits are holding that pressure. And then that's the leak check. So once that's good, we're able to continue on with the approach timeline, which gosh, I think it might have been about an hour ago. Feels that much? Feels that way. I don't know. Time's kind of distorted over the last 40 hours. It feels like. But yeah. So with the crew in their seats, they are buckled in. It's a 5-point safety harness that it acts basically as a pretty advanced seatbelt. And the crew of course is basically plugged into their seats. We had a view just a moment ago using the umbilical, and that of course provides communication, telemetry of the crew themselves, and also fresh air. So while they're sitting there in their seats, we are pumping a nitrogen-oxygen mixture through the suit. As I mentioned before, we are an active operations building here, so you'll have to excuse the background noise behind us. But yeah, the crew is very comfortable in their suits. We are flowing some of that fresh air of that nitrox mixture through the suits, nitrox being the same stuff that you breathe whenever you're scuba diving.
As we await confirmation of Waypoint 1, the International Space Station is flying 264 statute miles over Washington State. In fact, just a few moments ago, it flew over the city of Seattle.
The previous shot on the right-hand side. As we get closer, we can see more and more of the Dragon vehicle.
And that call 5 meters separating Dragon from space station. Should be about a minute until we are docked, and Crew 5 is home for the next few months. Should hear that call for chop here momentarily.
2 meters, chop.
And there it was.
Copy, 2 meters.
2 meters, crew hands off point. Happens about 25 seconds before contact.
1 meter.
1 meter.
Dragon, SpaceX on the big loop, contact and soft capture complete. Attenuation in progress.
And contact confirmed. Dragon made contact with the International Space Station at 2:01 p.m. Pacific, just off the west coast.
Currently seeing a live view of Dragon Endurance docked to the forward port of the Harmony module.
On the big loop for comm, just providing some awareness. I think we've got spotty TDRS coverage and have for some time. We can stick on the big loop for the continued coordination here. You are go for 4.400 for cabin configuration.
A bit more time until we welcome them on board the International Space Station. Next one through the hatch is Josh Cassada, the pilot of Dragon. He's getting his welcome and hellos from the crew aboard International Space Station. And we see right now, right past Nicole Mann's hair, and with the addition of Crew 5 on board, there is currently 11 astronauts inside the International Space Station.